Hey, good afternoon again. Hey, this is West Point Colonel Graham. Sir, you mentioned a interesting idea about demand signals, and I wanted to explore that space. We had some folks to think about that a little bit, and go through a kind of a hypothetical storyboard where I'm using both the hypothetical integration of Sharp Cloud and a piece of software called Recorded Future. Recorded Future, we're in conversation with them right now. They're not too far from here, so know a lot about them. Supported by In-Q-Tel, so nice kind of option to talk to. Let's hypothetically think that a senior leader is looking through these particular things we decide to work on, and as they go, they get excited by and they see this thing about non-lethal, and they want to dig a little more into it and understand what it's connected to as they're able to, and then they go into its relationships and criteria, and then they go, well, I know what we're working on because I can see our stats here and what kind of programs that we have going on, but is this something that we are ready to field? Is it something we're ready to get others involved in? What is the state of perspective on non-lethal? And is there anything we might do to maybe influence that perspective through demand signaling? So then I would come over to something like Recorded Future. In this case, the last user, senior leader, was looking up and they'd seen a thing about quantum mechanics. They looked it up and they came with this view, but now they changed their mind. They say, look, I want to click on and look at less than running this saving software I'm running makes everything run slower here. And I do a search on less than lethal. I get my view, which, as everybody knows, I'm partial to my networks, and I get excited with them because they tell me a lot. Like I can learn a lot about, I can focus in on tasers once this diagram settles down. I can focus in on tasers and learn who's working on them, where they're at, etc. And what the key companies are. I can see Smith & Wesson has a taser thing going on. EMDS has an issue going on, and if I further explore this, I can also see that this is the comments of the last 13 years. So I can actually shrink the space if I wanted to see the most recent in terms of demand characteristics. Actually, and this one's projecting forward, feature in Recorded Future. But let's look at it the way a lot of other folks prefer to look at it, and we'll look at it from a timeline view. In the timeline view, what we see is, in the timeline view, what they've done, and we don't have to stick with this, but they've taken the idea of mention, quotation, protest, so the idea of less than lethal being used in protest, less than lethal being used in the concept of growth and alliances, crime and terrorism, legal. Interesting. So I'm trying to understand the landscape of less than lethal and the technology coming. Well, I could start going through these and pick one, and oh, nice. Okay, so I know that politically there's this guy, Jesse Jackson, who is upset that folks are not using less than lethal. So actually, they're maybe an ally for getting things like that fielded. I can also dig into protests and understand protests in Anaheim. And they fire, so they're in use in the U.S. This is good. This U.S. idea has me thinking. I think I'd like to look at the map view and understand. Sorry about my heater in the background here. The map view, which is going to tell me that less than lethal, is in use or at least being considered in a number of places. Spain's using it, so I know that they may have an industry that's pushing in that area, and I can zero in and see if there's any industry growth and alliances. No, they're in the U.S. Legal, see if there's issues there. They're all in the U.S. And as I go through those, I can start seeing anyway where these particular issues are popping up and where they're used. So you can see that in Turkey here, they're used for protest. Obviously, if I just want to go right to the raw data, I can see what both the scientific community, the political community, the legal community, etc., are looking at when it comes to less than lethal. So rather than wait for this to come up. You get the idea. Recorded future is something you can take a look at yourself. But this is in one way how we would tie the idea of what we're working on, which is understanding these sciences and their relationships, and what senior leadership has to deal with sometimes, which is what are the political situations that we're working through now, legal, and what is